Hi guys, I am back with another process video, and today I'm going to be using this cut file as the kind of main or centerpiece of my layout besides my photo. So what I'm just going to be doing is backing the cut file with some pretty pattern paper, and this is a collection from Close to My Heart that is called something like Beautiful or something along those lines. I don't remember if it's a current collection or not. It may have been in their like seasonal collection, but I can look that up if you guys are interested. Just let me know in the comments below and I can get back to you on that. I do have a consultant that I actually use for Close to My Heart. So if you are interested in Close to My Heart products and things like that, I can also get you in touch with the consultant that I use. So here I am just backing this cut file. I'm going to show you a couple different pieces here. I'm not going to show you the whole backing of everything because it gets a little boring, but I do want to tell you a little bit about what I'm doing. I'm actually using my fine liner bottle. You can get this fine liner bottle at Hobby Lobby using a coupon. I believe you can get it on Amazon, but I believe the Hobby Lobby is probably the most reasonable priced one because you can use the coupon with it. So I highly recommend you looking for it at Hobby Lobby, and if you don't have a Hobby Lobby online, you can definitely purchase it. And they have two tips. They have a yellow and a blue, and I do suggest the yellow one. The blue tip is just a little bit thinner, and the glue doesn't seem to go through it very well. So the yellow tip does seem to be a better bet when you're using some like the thicker glues and such. So I am all finished with that, and I got all my little pieces glued back there. And I just used a pencil to trace around the pieces and then trim them out and then erase the pencil lines. So now I'm trying to figure out how I want to back this photo, and I have a couple of these cut apart sheets that came in the same Close to My Heart collection, and I cut them apart. They're kind of like Project Life cards or pocket page cards, and I cut them just to use as layering pieces for this photo and this layout. So I'm just going to fiddle with this for a little bit until I get the look that I want. And then I'm also going to pull some other die cuts over here that I had already also cut out that I had kind of sitting off to the side. And I'm going to look at that for a little bit and play with it for a bit. But ultimately I decide that I want to keep it pretty simple and just keep that rose cluster that I backed with the pattern paper for this layout and keep that kind of as a centerpiece. So you'll see that I'm going to change my mind here in a minute and just pull those off. After I kind of figure out how I want this, I am going to start gluing everything down, and I do add a layer of tissue paper behind my photo. I can't remember if I do that now or a little bit later, but I do add a little bit of tissue paper just to give it some added texture and dimension. I do like adding the tissue paper or vellum or things like that on the background. I just think it makes it just kind of pop and give some more texture. It just makes it look a little more interesting so the layout's not as flat. So now I'm just taking a pencil and drawing around where I have my photo, my cluster, and I am going to do that because I want to put some gesso down, and I don't necessarily need gesso all over. I kind of wanted it only in the vicinity of where my photo and my die cut cluster is. However, this is definitely a total fail, or at least I think it's a fail. I'm using a clear gesso because I didn't want to mute out too much of that background paper because I really like the look of it. It's a light pink with darker pink and white polka dots, and it's really pretty, and I really wanted to highlight this paper, so I didn't want to cover it up with white gesso. Unfortunately, what the clear gesso does is it makes the page kind of look wet, and I just really, really don't like it. And also made the page look kind of like this weird pinky color that I just didn't like as well. So I was not happy with this, but I'm going to go on, try to see if I can salvage it. But ultimately, you're going to see that I'm going to end up flipping this paper over. But I kind of wanted to show you kind of my fail so you can kind of see what I've done and why I didn't think it was going to work. And just so you can see that, these are the things that I go through when I'm making these layouts. And sometimes this mixed media backgrounds just don't work the way I'm hoping for. So I'm going to persevere and keep playing with this, and like I said, I will be flipping it over here in a little bit. But what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try and take some of my gelatos and some spray mists and kind of mush that around the background and kind of use my fingers and some water to mush it around. And so you'll see me doing that here in a minute after I back this photo with that tissue paper that I had mentioned a bit earlier. And this is just some really cheap, inexpensive tissue paper that I think I got from the dollar store, or maybe from a present. I try to keep all the tissue paper I get in presents so that I can use it in Project Life. But I don't always get, or not Project Life, I'm sorry, scrapbooking. But I don't always get white tissue paper. So sometimes I end up buying the white tissue paper at like the dollar store because I don't really need it to be really high quality tissue paper. It's not going to go in a present. It just needs to be a little bit of a layering piece in the background. And what I do try to do is I try to have some kind of layer of paper or something between my photo and the tissue paper, because I do want to try as much as possible to keep the layout as archival safe as possible. It doesn't always work that nicely, but I kind of try to get that way. So by having that layer of paper, that cardstock or pattern paper behind your photo, so there's a layer between the photo and the tissue paper, seems to help and keep it from touching the photo and possibly ruining the photo later down the line. So now I'm just going to glue everything in place, glue those layers together of the photo, and then I'll move on to that background that I was talking about a little bit ago. So hopefully you guys had a great summer. I know in the US it's summertime right now and it's ending pretty much. My daughter had just started her first day of third grade today, so I'm very sad that she's growing up so fast. I wish she would just stop growing, but unfortunately that doesn't happen for any of us. So she's just going to keep growing like a weed. I think we measured her the other day and she grew like maybe an inch since the last time we measured her, not even about 6 months ago. So it seems like she goes into these growth spurts and she just seems so tall. She's got like the longest legs, it seems like. And when she was first born and when she was little in kindergarten, preschool, she was one of the tinier kids in class. And I really think she is definitely shooting up there and getting much, much taller as she gets older. So here I'm just kind of fiddling with this background piece. I do want to pop up the photo and the cluster, so I'm going to add a bunch of foam to the back of this. So before that, I am going to, like I said, persevere with this background. I thought, well, if maybe it's bothering me because the whole background doesn't have the clear gesso on it, so I need to have more. But that didn't help. I still didn't like it, but I'm going to keep trying anyway. So here is the gelatos I'm using. This one's kind of a metallic gelato, and I'm kind of testing it to see if I like it. That seemed a bit dark, and that seemed a bit too pink. So I'm going to use this one. It's kind of a mauvey, purpley kind of pink color. I don't even know what color it is. But I'm going to kind of draw around. This is kind of where I have my pencil lines and draw it around where the cluster is going to go, because I just want it peeking out the edges of the clusters. So I'm going to spray this with a little bit of water, and sometimes this would work. If I kind of play with it, it may have worked. Maybe if I just kept these gelatos on there, it might have worked, but I don't know. It just wasn't doing it for me. And then I add, because I didn't like this so much, I thought, oh, I'll just keep adding more to it, because I watch a lot of Missy Whidden, and she always says, just keep adding and then put stuff on top, and it won't look as bad when you keep going. But it didn't work for me this time. A lot of times it does, but I wasn't able to use her philosophy this time and make it work. I just really didn't like it. I mean, I guess from that photo it didn't look quite as bad as I thought when I was in person, but it just wasn't doing it for me. So instead of just pushing forward and just really not liking the layout, I decided to flip it over so I wasn't wasting any paper. And I like this green paper too, and I actually like how it pops off this paper. Maybe not as much as the pink, but I do end up liking this as well. And I'm just taking some Lindy Stamp Gang spray and adding it. It's kind of a copper color. And then I'm using this Heidi Swap texture paste in a gold through my stencil so that it kind of peeks out behind my layers. And this layout unfortunately was wrought with problems, so I'm going to add a little bit more and then end up smushing it and kind of messing it up, but a lot of it gets hidden, so that's not so bad. So I'm just going to add a little bit more down here to the bottom left and just wanting it to peek out some of those corners or edges of this layout. So I'm going to dry that with my heat gun, and then I'm going to start gluing things down here in just a second. And then I'm going to move on to the title and a bit of embellishing. And I do kind of keep this to a minimum. I was struggling so much with the layout and the background that I decided not to just keep trying to do a bunch of different things. I'm just going to keep it simple, add the beautiful title here, and then I'm going to add some of those hearts, which I really like. And I love these. They're kind of like a rubbery, puffy sticker. They're really, really cool. So I really like the texture of them and how they look on the layout. And I like that they're just a bit darker than that gold Heidi Swap texture paste that I added. So I'm just kind of going through the die cut pack, the sticker sheet, and some of the other things that I have. And I decided to add a couple pieces of embellishments or stickers here. And I didn't like that one, but I am going to find a different flower that kind of fits that spot. It just looked a little like a gap there, and I wanted to fill that in a bit. So I'm going to kind of keep it like that. I'm going to add a label and one other flower. And that's pretty much going to be the layout. I'm going to add a little bit more gold arrows here, but I really don't do too much with this layout. Like I said, I was kind of getting a bit frustrated when I was making this, and I kind of wanted to just keep it simple and not try to overdo any more than I had already done. So you'll just see me adding these chevrons, and I want to make sure they kind of line up so they look kind of straight, not kind of wonky. I'll add a label that has my daughter's name on it and the year this picture was taken. And I think that's pretty much it. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining me. Hope you are having a good day. If you did like the video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I really appreciate all of your thoughts and comments and things like that you leave for me. So if you ever have any of those, you can definitely leave those below. If you have any suggestions on how I could have made this layout better, because definitely I think there's room for a suggestion on this one, you can also leave that below. I like to hear constructive criticism. It's always nice to kind of get other people's opinions and ideas about your layouts. Just maybe some other tips and tricks that maybe you saw as I was making this that could have made something better. We're always learning, and it's always nice to collaborate and talk with everyone of my subscribers and the people in the community as well. So, like I said, thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm just going to finish this off here, and there's going to be some still shots at the very end. Have a great day, and I will talk to you again very, very soon. Bye bye.